Okay, we are live. Seth, unmute yourself so we can hear you.
I said, wow, nice song. Hi, Asaf.
Yeah, this is the first time for me hearing this song. And this is from
So
a
beautiful.
special guest that we're gonna have
Yes. Tash from
later on.
UK. You'll be on our show today.
Wow, that is a very moody, very vibey song. There's something really, really, really strong
There's a whole
about it.
story behind it, and you're going to hear it today.
All right, was first time for me hearing this song. Assuming for our guests as well, for viewers. All right, guys, let us know where you're watching from. This is the quarantine. We are live and we're all in quarantine, so we are connecting through the quarantine. That's why we are the quarantine. You are the quarantine. We're all the quarantine. You get you get
I'm
the
getting a lot
idea.
of shaloms already.
Yeah, I'm seeing some.
Cece's a regular. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. All right,
Nice to
let us
see
know
some
where
new
you're
people
watching
too.
from. Tell us where from. It gives us a great feeling. And every time we discover there's someone from Kenya and someone from Cameroon or someone from wherever, Italy,
Michigan.
Spain. Yeah, exactly. So it's wherever you are from. It's all good. Just let us know. Feels great. Okay, so today we're gonna have in a few minutes Dr. Leah Mandler, who is an international relations expert, and we want to investigate with her what are the international relations at this point in time in the coronavirus era. But before that, Seth, what's on your mind? What's going on?
Let's jam on the. Let's do a little Kabbalistic jam, Asaf.
Yeah,
Why are we here? Why are we in the? Why did we create the space together? Because we are a piece of hardware, meaning a human being is like a piece of hardware, and the software. Think about all of the stories from our childhood. So here, like everything is like a reference to an 80s movie, or it's a reference to some song that was on the air, or it's a reference to some hamburger commercial. Everything that gets downloaded onto this piece of hardware here was given to me by the media, basically. And that informs how I live, what I think love is, what I think romance is, what I think a relationship is, what I think a dad is, what I think funny is, what I think healthy is. All of these things are what media gave me. So what we are doing here, as we have, meaning us, have, and our guests have had a different influence on us, which is the influence of the books of Kabbalah and our teacher. And it starts to reformat our hardware, this machine here, with a new kind
absolutely.
of software.
And it doesn't matter, I have to say, where you're from coming to Kabbalah. That, you and I are both examples. And the reason we can bring so many people from all over the world and kind of speak the same language and see the world in a similar way is because of this unique influence, let's say, that, reformatting, you said, of
Yeah.
the
So
Kabbalistic
so we have
texts and
hardware,
concepts.
which we had
Yeah.
nothing to do with, right? Whoever your mom and dad were, whoever your grandparents and great grandparents and whoever, that's the hardware you get. That's the machine you get. And then the software we have, depending on where we put this piece of hardware, we can, and what we allow to enter it, that kind of determines how the hardware is going to operate. So that's why we're here, is in order to get a software upgrade and orient ourselves towards the way that nature, the way that this integral whole system that has been developing all of nature is bringing us, and not that we guide our lives based on some very big egoists plan in order to accumulate billions, and therefore needs us to purchase things, or therefore needs us to watch certain things, or therefore needs us to react to certain ways or buy certain medicines or whatever. Everything is fine. It's no problem being an egoist, but we have decided to not live our lives just like senseless animals who have eyes but can't see, have what's really going on, have ears but can't hear what's really going on. We want to understand, start to feel a new reality. Stuff. Did you know that in 1918 there was also another flu, was not called the Chinese flu, as
Yeah, the
Trump called
Spanish flu.
the Spanish flu. And do you know what percent of the world's population it killed? I don't know who was counting, but from
I
what I read,
actually don't know the percentage, but I think it was about 100 million people
from what I understand, it was more.
or
It
200
wasn't.
million people.
It wasn't a half of the population of the Earth, but it was maybe like a third of the population of the whole planet
Yeah.
died.
Yeah, because there
Okay.
was an exponential growth of human population in the last 100 years. Yeah, or something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
In the 50s, I guess around maybe because of World War II. Well, that was before that. So I don't know what caused it, but in the 50s there was another flu. I was trying to think maybe how did it travel around so fast? But in the 50s there was another flu that killed a million or maybe 2 million people as well. So this one didn't kill so many people yet, right? But everybody is very nervous about what's happening. Um, Here's the good news, bad news. It's all good news, but it may come as a little surprise. We're not going to find a vaccine. We're not going to find a vaccine.
Did
So
you
we,
hear
we, we
that
may
world? Did you hear
we, we,
that world?
there could be a vaccine. Could be a vaccine for one thing. Okay, we found one virus, one pathogen, one thing. We vaccinate for that. But let me tell you a quick anecdote. That there's some construction on my block, and since the construction started, I guess these ants that were living underneath this house that's under construction, looking for a new source of food, they managed to find their way into my kitchen. So every time,
Dude,
every
I don't know if I should say that because it sounds really horrible, but for the exact same reason, I literally caught a rat today. A rat. They're
okay, so I only have
renovating.
ants.
They're renovating like the like really close to my house, and and yeah, because of that, apparently all the neighbors are suffering. Like, rats are coming out of the whatever, like the sewage and all kinds
Wait,
of
so what what
places. They're
what somebody
they're
does
hiding
in
in.
their life affects what somebody else does in their life affects somebody else's life? Is that what
Oh,
you're saying?
exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
this is an aside.
yeah.
We didn't plan that. Okay.
Anyway,
What
oh
the
boy.
point is that the ants are coming into the kitchen, okay? And so my kids and I have this game, not a game, it's a serious mission. We're trying to stop it. So what but the thing is with these guys is once you stop them, once you find where they're coming from and stop them here, they end up coming out in another corner of the room. And then you stop them over there, and then
Yeah.
they come out over here. That's the reason why we're not going to find a vaccine, because we're not capable of outsmarting nature, and we're not supposed to. Nature is trying to mercifully. We didn't lose a third of the Earth's population, a third of the human population this time. We didn't. 2 million people didn't die from this thing. There is an opportunity for us to understand what's going on and deal with it. So, what does it mean that we won't find what does it mean that we won't find a vaccine for this? It means that it will mutate to COVID-19 part two, or it will turn into what if some okay, so there was a one of the pork processing plants in the United States produces, I think, 5% of the pork in the U.S. Some of the workers there got sick, so then it could be a food shortage. It doesn't have to be COVID-19. It could be something else. It could be a food shortage. It could be something with all the olive trees. Google it. What's going on with the olive trees in
Oh,
Italy?
oh, I saw that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
First of
So
all, there's that, and there's also like a second wave of locust that could be like 20 times, they say, 20 times worse
it's 20
than.
times 100 billion. Okay. So it's a lot.
It's crazy.
So
But the olive
uh,
tree thing is really interesting. That's like a serious plague that's happening,
well, we'll do an olive tree
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
it's big. It's big, yeah. Go ahead.
We can't fight nature. That's not the point. The, so what did we learn? We learned that um, the feeling that we depend on each other, that's what the virus is giving us, that we depend on each other. We have to acknowledge that this place where we live, Earth, this is our home. And we have to acknowledge, and it's easy with you because I love you so much, but we have to acknowledge that the people on Earth are our family. As unrealistic as it sounds, this is what the Kabbalists bring to us and tell us that this will determine our future. We have to understand that we are distant from each other. We're all very distant from each other, and nature is not going to allow us to get close to each other without exploiting each other.
That needs a little bit unpacking right there.
Help me, please.
So yeah, so this virus comes into the world, and if we're saying that humanity is a family and it needs to recognize, that we're all siblings, that we're all brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers or whatever, then why is it separating us? Why are we in this obligation to socially distance from each other? But that's exactly the point, because nature is kind of saying, this isn't how brothers and sisters should relate to each other. No. You each go to your rooms now. And you know what? You gotta start thinking and reflecting and think about all the mistakes you've made and how you exploited each other and the planet and how you created such a dog-eat-dog world where everyone has to fight to survive and everyone has to hide from each other and try to act out a different kind of player in this zero-sum game where there's winners and losers, and you forgot that you're a family. You forgot that you're, married and engaged and, have whatever, blood connections. By the way, even genetically speaking, scientifically speaking, there is like a how do they call it? Whatever, like an ancestral mother for humanity, genetically speaking. But anyway, we forgot all of that. We lost touch with our kinship, or whatever you may call it, with our common humanity, with our sense of, being brothers and sisters, which primitive tribes had before the growth of the human ego, with which, people in ancient times had much more than we did. And so nature comes in a very creative way, I would say, in a very it's written by the greatest director in the world. What's happening right now, a situation where we are giving a little kind of a push and a little kind of a beating, but honestly, it's not that bad in terms of human suffering. What's really happening here is human evolution. What's really happening here is human consciousness. We have to start reflecting on how can we then regain our connection when we come out of this quarantine, when we come out of this social distancing situation, and rebuild our connections. So and I think it's a good time to go to our guest, because we have an expert in international relations that is going to talk to us kind of about that. If you think about it, we're going to talk about relationships between countries and other countries, or governments and their citizens, and citizens in light of this corona crisis. So let's bring her on, but it'll take a couple seconds. So go ahead.
Okay. Alina is here from Israel. Hi, Alina. JC. Hey, JC. Oh, thank you, JC. JC's asking everybody to please share. Hey, John Culver, Big John from Michigan. Steve is saying the thing with the olive trees has been going on for 5 years. Okay. In Italy. Dina, Mary, Carl in Florida. Amazing. Dina, tell Vlad, who's in quarantine, we love him through the door. Hi, Miriam. Oh, we got a lot of people here, Asaf, from all over the world again. Okay, this is what I was going to say. Asaf, there was foxes now in my yard. Fox, you know, fox, like, of course you know what a fox is. Foxes in my yard, and he was like hunting for, I guess, mice or something like that. But I didn't see the mice. I didn't even know there were mice in my yard, in the grass, the tall grass, because I can't see them. But this fox, he was like going, like he knew exactly where they were. I was looking at the exact same grass as him. He could see it and I couldn't see it, right? So I said, oh, wow, I learned something from that. He perceives the world different than me. Okay, that's also springtime. These birds are returning back to my neighborhood.
Yeah,
they come every year. There
are pigs, like boars. that are traveling on the streets of Haifa, northern Israel. It's crazy. It's like,
So
yeah,
there's
like,
another. That's crazy. Yeah. So there's another animal. It may be a little controversial to call him an animal because this animal totally ruins the earth, and this animal totally ruins the relationships between himself and the other animals. Um, but according to scientists, the human is an animal. That animal is us, and the point is that we are perceiving the world like the fox is perceiving the world. Or we're going to get back to this story. Is our guest here?
yes, we
Okay,
have.
bring her in. We'll hold this. This is. I have a feeling
We're,
we're gonna culminate on this on, where we're going. So
Dr. Leah Mandler is with us. I think she can already hear us as well. Can you hear us, Leah?
Yes, good evening. Can
All
you hear
right.
me?
we hear you perfect.
Yeah, we
Thank
can
you for
hear
joining
you.
us.
So, we were just talking about human relations in light of the coronavirus crisis. We were talking about how, from our perspective, we see that, that there's a certain kind of change that is required and that is inevitably happening in human connections, in human relations. And you're an expert in international relations, right?
Yes.
So,
Correct.
so
The
tell us.
thing that really play. Okay.
Ooh,
I was saying that coronavirus has brought up so many things that previously maybe were masked or not so obvious or not shown well in all layers of our lives. And now they are shown, they are obvious in our interpersonal relations, in the families, in the society, in the between the government and the people, and between countries, everywhere.
okay. Can you unpack that for us? Can you explain what kinds of effects are now apparent and weren't before?
Yeah. Okay, so I think the best way to see it is to go on three different levels. First, to speak about the relationship between people, then relationship between people and the government, and then go to the global international arena. And we can see similar things happening on all three levels, but there are slight differences between them. First of all, on the individual relationship level, we see that inside of the families, there are families falling apart, families coming closer together. And we see that there are people collaborating. For example, scientists are collaborating from around the world, establishing global databases, sharing information, working together to solve this problem of the virus, to find the vaccine, to find any kind of solution. And this has been really successful with a large group of scientists from around the world in many fields of science, in psychology, in medicine, in different fields of science. So this is something on really individual and group level, but it's not established. It's not universities connecting people. It's people connecting people. And the same has been happening the on the side of the private corporations, which have decided to collaborate from different countries to work together. Also, we have initiatives of volunteers in different countries that are going out and helping elderly, helping people who are in need. And this is happening really on the level of individuals. If we step one level up and we try to analyze the relationship between people and the government, things are getting much more complicated. Why? Because we see one big problem, and that is lack of trust. There are governments who are seemingly succeeding in dealing with the situation. For example, we have the examples of Iceland, South Korea, and Taiwan, which have been able to react very quickly to stop the spread of the disease and really have regained the trust of their people. On the other hand, we have governments of Spain, Sweden in the recent days, and Italy, and also China, of course, Russia, and other countries, and the United States also, where people are very disappointed and they are losing trust in their governments. They do not trust the numbers. They do not believe what they hear from their leaders. Also, in Israel, we have this problem that the example of the leaders themselves has been so bad that people are saying, if they're not respecting the rules that they made themselves, why should I respect the rules, that they're imposing on me? So what we are seeing is really like turbulence inside of the countries, when at the same time the countries are closing their borders and expressing the same type of um, lack of trust toward other countries. So if we rise to the international level, we also see that countries are not collaborating. In recent days, we are seeing that United States is blaming China for what is happening. China is blaming other countries for what is happening. And they have also been taking the equipment one from the other. So while we are seeing, for example, scientists on the individual level collaborating from around the world, we are seeing their governments not collaborating between them and closing.
Is there ever a time that they do collaborate? Is there ever a time when they do collaborate with each other?
You mean the governments
Yeah.
between them? Of course, we have
When?
seen international organizations which have been very active until recently, like United Nations or European Union, or I don't know, Asian. Those IOs.
Okay, so that the question wasn't right. The question is, what are the conditions that compel them to work together well?
We in the international politics, we have this sentence that if you want governments to collaborate, they need to have common interest. They need to have interest that they're following, and this is what is working for all of them. So then they will collaborate. Right now, we are seeing that each country has its own interest that it's following, and they're first trying to solve their inner problems, and what's happening in other countries is much less interesting. So in order to collaborate on the international level, the vision of the leaders or those who are participating in the international organizations should be completely different than it is currently. So we're actually seeing a withdrawal from international organizations. Like, for example, President Trump just recently announced that he is going to withdraw the money that the United States is paying for WHO. And we are seeing also that Russia is not willing to participate in meetings, and different expressions of lack of trust toward international organizations.
But I
And
mean,
this is what,
that could be because Trump just wants it. May be part of his reelection campaign. He needs to have. I wanted to do it good, but they screwed it up or something.
if it were only Trump, then I would say, okay, maybe this is something happening, in the United States, but it's not only him. There is, for example, United Nations has been very quiet ever since this happening. There is no organization of anything, no international relief fund, nothing that is really like happening on the global level that you could say, okay, countries are uniting to meet this problem. They're not. They're actually trying to face the problem on their own. Every country on its own. And in cases where we see that their interests are colliding, they're not trying to think together. They're just thinking, okay, how can I, for example, if there was a equipment coming from China through Turkey for Italy, and Turkey decided that the equipment is staying in Turkey because they need them more. So this is
There was also something with the masks, I think, where some shipments of masks were like thwarted or like misdirected because governments wanted to make sure that they have it before others. Things like that, like a war that's happening behind the scenes on who gets the masks. Things like that.
I think yes. Yeah. There were two cases. One was Turkey, and the other one was the Czech Republic. They took also the shipment that was meant for Spain. Later on, all of them apologized. They sent help on their own, etc. But the damage was already done. The thing is that I think the best example to see how international organizations are actually dissolving right now is European Union. You see that the countries in the union are very angry because the union was not able to provide them any help. For example, Spain and Italy, they were expecting to receive equipment and money and other things from the European Union, and they did not receive anything. On the contrary, the only countries who helped them were China and Russia and Turkey after everything happened. But this is very important because the lack of trust that I mentioned before about citizens in their governments is also expressed on the level of countries in the international government, in international organizations. And actually,
Would you
what we are
say,
seeing,
would you say, Leah, that we are witnessing some sort of a dismantling or disintegration of global committees, global organizations, global cooperation?
I think that it's very early to say something like that yet, but I think that we are seeing a lot of non-formal organizing on the international level, and then we are seeing dismantling of formal institutions. For example, much of the international relations between countries is based on connections between diplomats, between professionals, people who live in other country and they represent me, and those people have now been withdrawn. They are not there. They are not able to do their work. There are no international summits. The places where those professional people who represent countries, one in the other, or in the international organizations, they are now not active. So what we know as the regular diplomatic activity on the international level has been closed almost. So we don't know what will the results of this be, but we are seeing that the international relations are changing. They're going to the informal individual level and not staying on the level of countries and their representatives. On the contrary, we are seeing that countries are actually closing into themselves, trying to solve the problem on their own. And
Is
even
it similar to what individuals are doing? It sounds, when you're describing it, like individuals are in quarantine. It's almost like countries themselves.
yeah, it's interesting what you're saying. I didn't think about it that way, but yes, the countries are self-quarantining, and thinking that going back home and closing the borders will in some way stop the spreading of the disease, which
So,
is
so this whole,
unable to.
so definitely we are not, even though it's very similar, it's a very interesting situation. Like, to me, looking at it through, like, just a common person's perspective, okay, it seems like all the countries are doing the same things, or very similar policies are put in place. But on the other hand, you're saying the world is definitely not working together to solve this, to fight this epidemic, this pandemic. Like, there is no global cooperation that's happening. It's every country to itself, even though they're coming to similar conclusions about what to do.
It's very interesting actually what you're saying, because we see different reactions from different countries, and we are seeing things that were not existing in international relations before. For example, there is this phenomena that we call disaster diplomacy, which relates to countries using epidemics and disasters to help each other, and then regain connections or solve conflicts. And this has been very different in different parts of the world. For example, China has been trying to provide help to many countries in the world, and actually in that way, let's say, correct a little bit, the name that it got because of the coronavirus. And there are many countries that are refusing to receive aid, and at the moment that they hear that it's coming from China, they are not willing to collaborate in anything. So it's actually backfiring. China's trying to provide help, it's not doing it any good. It's actually getting it worse. The same is happening for Russia and for United States, even though United States has not provided any help outside of the country because it's very busy.
It kind of proves what the Kabbalists are saying, basically, that there's no, nature doesn't need, we don't need to save nature. We need to kind of save our human nature. And all of these attempts to go, we're going to go now and save Czechoslovakia. We're going to go and save, Angola. We're going to go and save Spain. No, like everyone, it's like, it's weird, right? Because it didn't kill a third of the population like the Spanish flu, or millions of people like the flu in the 50s. But it's like everyone just like, go home. Everything you're doing is because even the root of that, why is China helping them and not them? And it's some kind of self-serving, and the only software that's operating in all of these leaders is, I'm only going to help someone if I'm going to get something out of either I'm going to get elected, or it's going to make my poll numbers go up, or I'm going to get a better trade deal later from this one. So it's
I want to ask. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I wanted to say that I completely agree with you. Actually, what I'm thinking is that we are seeing actually the masks falling down.
Ooh, stay tuned for the. Oh, it was getting dramatic. Oh, I don't hear you.
Game. Okay.
Okay. We Leah, I lost you after you said we're seeing the masks coming down.
What I was saying that in diplomacy, the rules of the game have always been very right, but very not sincere. Okay, so for example, enemies would come together, in different meetings, and then say nice things one to another, and then go home and be enemies again. And one of the very interesting things that are happening is that here in Israel, actually, what we are seeing is a very, very good cooperation between the Palestinians and the Israelis, which is happening not on the government level, but actually on the level of doctors, of ambulance drivers, of policemen, people who are in the field working. And I don't think that it will bring peace because it's very, very, very early for that. But there are no masks here, okay, maybe there's still hatred or animosity or something else, but we have a common enemy, so now we have to fight for this together. And this has been a very good example that in the European Union, you see countries who have been very good friends on the surface, but now they're not helping each other, not caring about each other. And here we are in the same, let's say, in the same area. Everything that happens in the Palestinian Authority happens in Israel 2 days later. We have to collaborate. So what I meant by the masks falling off is
that's really interesting. Yeah, it's like every kind of relationship is now evolving. Whether it was, like you give the example of the EU, like the European Union, it looked like a union, but now it's being exposed as not so much. And when you have relationships where there was animosity, but there was no reason to come together, now there's a common thing, a common challenge to come together. We thought there were global organizations that were that had some sort of a global mode of cooperation, and now we're discovering that the formal global cooperative organizations are being like paralyzed. It's very interesting. So we're kind of losing earlier forms of relationships and evolving into new forms of relationships, and it's happening on all those levels that you talked about, on a global level, on an international level, on a country level, and also across citizens. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we can see really parallel lines between the three levels, and the main, like the buzzword, will be, and it is actually, professionals in my field are writing about it, that it's trust or no trust. That is the name of the game. Before you could play it nicely, but even if I didn't trust you, we could shake hands and it was fine. But now, if I have my government, doing things that are drawing the state towards totalitarian rule, and I don't trust the government, then I don't trust it with the numbers of that people. I don't trust it with the measures that are imposed on me, and everything is actually being influenced by lack of trust or existence or creation of trust. And
can we ask you, as a researcher, your opinion, your view? Do you think that we will come out? How do you think that we will come out of this crisis? First of all, is it, is it soon? Is it? Are we going to see a lot of change, you think, on all those levels? And also, if you can talk about your hope or what you would like to see.
Wow, it's a huge question. I will tell you a little bit about the disaster diplomacy, which has let's say 2 decades, 3 decades of very good research. In disasters, it really depends on the people where the disaster happens, and their choices, what they decide to do with the situation. So we have enemies who come out of the disaster and they become friends, and there's a peace process, etc., etc. And then you have other countries who get even more devastated and even worse enemies than they were before the disaster. It really depends on the people, and it depends on the leaders, the leadership of those countries. Every country can make different decisions. I think that it also depends on the length of the process that we are undergoing. If this ends in a few weeks, then I suppose that we will see minor changes. But if it lasts longer, then we will have to adapt, and we will have to start working in different frameworks that we are not used to yet. I think that, for example, in the scientific community, what is going on with collaboration between scientists is wonderful, and I think this will completely change the way that science is being done. Until now, it has been mostly individual effort, and now it's becoming a group and global effort. So I think that will be a wonderful change. For the internal politics, it's really difficult to say, because there are countries that may fall down into authoritarian regimes and be much worse than they were before this crisis, and I believe that there will also be better countries. One interesting thing is that we are seeing that actually regimes or countries in which women are leaders are doing much better than the countries where men are the leaders. And this may be something to learn from, and maybe to take into the future, because women are only.
Wait. Let's let's dwell on this for just a second. So women, countries where women are the leaders, like New Zealand, they have a female prime minister. Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah, so they are.
Yes, Germany, New Zealand, Iceland.
Okay, so they're what? They're more successful in managing the crisis or in collaborating between them?
Yes, no, they're managing the crisis much better. They have less casualties. Mm-hmm. They have started in arranging for this whole thing much earlier, in earlier stages.
And as a female researcher, do you think that it has something to do with the nature of women?
I think because women are only 10% of the leaders in the world, so this is a very small group that to conduct research. But I think that maybe it has something to do with how do you meet the challenge? What do you do? For example, I will take just one example. We see that one of the leaders in the Palestinian Authority is one very successful woman that has, for the first time, has led a whole area of Ramallah. And actually, in her area, in contrast to other areas in the Palestinian Authority, it has been met completely different. There are less people sick, and she collaborates differently with Israeli authorities, etc. So I cannot say, this is the solution, make every government have a prime minister who is a female, but data says
it may work.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Leah Mandler, thank you so much for giving us this talk. It was very, very interesting, and I learned some things here, and also got a new perspective on how things are changing on all those different levels between countries and individuals and country to country. Interesting stuff. So thank you.
I felt like this was, Leah. I felt like we covered like a huge amount of territory today. Maybe the next time you come on, we should like zoom. We should maybe like relist this and find something to go deeper into according to how the wisdom of Kabbalah. And because you covered while you were speaking, I was like, I have like 5 or 6 different topics that I thought we could have gone into, but I didn't want to stop because we were covering a lot. So also, if you think about it as well, if there's something that you think would pinpoint, and for our users, we'll go back and see what they said, that would be really good.
Thank you
Really
for
nice
having
perspective.
me.
This whole kind of like what's happening to the person and then what's happening with the countries, and yeah, thanks.
Night.
Thank you, Leah.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Asaf, it made me think of the that Bala Sulam article about the I think we talked about it even last week, the particular and the collective, and it's like what's happening in people's homes is the same thing that's happening.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Between countries, and if we, it may turn out that by us changing our relationships, it will. We don't need all these convoluted systems. Like the systems should serve the relationships between us, not that it's the other way around. Well, that was go ahead.
It was dense because as a researcher, like there's a lot of there's a lot of layers that you can, like you said, that you can zoom into. But what I got out of it is that you're seeing, like from her perspective as a researcher, very, very clearly you can see how the virus is changing, no doubt, changing human relations on every level. And on every level, it may appear in a different way and seem negative or positive, but there's evolution of human connections that is taking place. That is, undoubtedly the reality that's taking place right now. And it's so interesting when you think about, you're at home right now, and you're socially distanced because you have to maintain some regulations of self-isolation to a certain extent in your country. I have to do it to another extent in my country. And then zoom out, and all people, in your neighborhood have to do the same, and your whole city has to do the same, and your whole country has to do the same, and the whole world has to do the same. And that causes a chain reaction of changes, of attitudes in people and the organizations, the organisms that they make up. And that's essentially the evolution of human connection that we are witnessing, that is happening as we speak, without a lot of casualties, but with a lot of reflection and a lot of changing of interactions between people. This is like what I got out of it mostly, just that feeling that we are in this evolutionary process.
The story, I knew it was going to come back. The story about the fox outside and then the ants.
Let's go back to the fox and the ants. Yes.
Okay, so the fox
and the rat. Don't
forget
forget about the rat.
The fox is a creature. He perceives the world one way. The rat is a creature. He perceives the world one way. The ant, the birds, everyone, and the human, each are a different animal that's perceiving the world in a different way. And then what happens now, what the wisdom of Kabbalah gives us, is this path that, and now specifically thanks to this virus, from here we can connect to each other. And then I'm not perceiving the world as a lone fox anymore. I'm not perceiving the world as a lone human, as a lone piece of hardware right here anymore, the lone protein body right here. What happens is we begin to perceive the world through the connection between us, and not just through these physical eyes or these two ears here, but by being connected with you, right? I'm not a lone fox.
This is you're saying more. You're saying more here, and I want to tell you the words I'm hearing. Yeah, no, because we are according to what we're practicing every day. We exist in a network. We exist in a force field of connection, and it doesn't exist in every individual. The space where we are actually alive. You can call it the spiritual space, if you're coming from our perspective, from our terminology, Kabbalistic terminology, that the spiritual space, the space where human existence really needs to go to, is the space between us. It's that network of connection. It's that force field that is created from the connection, from the synergy between individuals. It's not in me, it's not in you, but it belongs to both of us. It's neither mine nor yours, but it's between us. It's right between us, and we are starting to experience that. Go ahead.
The song that we heard at the beginning is with one heart, one soul, one desire. Like, we're all for one, all for one.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect. Whoever's directing the show is doing a fabulous job, by the way. So, give that guy a raise wherever he is. So we're gonna now bring on from London, England, a really wonderful songwriter named Tash, who I met in the desert of Israel 2 months ago. It seems like 2 lifetimes ago. As young and as
what were you doing in the desert, Seth? Why were you
as young and as good of a music producer as he's not so good at technology, I learned over the last day or two. So hopefully, I see he read my message here, so he's trying to. So you're gonna have to let him in.
He's here. He's here in our waiting room. So
okay, so we let him in. We didn't get zoomed, but hey, Tash from the UK, what's up?
Hello, man? Tash from the UK.
Hello.
Oh, come
How are
to
you?
the mic.
Can you bring your mic closer to your mouth?
Yes. Is that better?
Yes. Even closer, if you can.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better. How are you?
Tash, we played. Hi, thanks for joining us. We played your song at the opening of the show, and for whoever didn't get to hear it yet, we're going to play it at the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard it for the first time, and I was really inspired. It's very moody and vibey. I called it. It puts you in a zone. It's good. Yeah. It's great. So
I don't think we have a link, unfortunately, yet to where everyone can hear it, but we will 100% put it up as soon as we do. But Tash, we're going to play it here, and anyone who wants to listen to it can watch this episode again. Tash, can you talk to us about? So when I met you, you had said, "Oh yeah, I'm not like making music now because I don't know why. Why did you stop making music?"
I guess I just lost the flavor for it.
I can't hear you now. Hold on, get close.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I guess for a long while I just lost the flavor for it, and kind of working with music in a way that was purely for work related purposes. It just lost I lost the flavor for it completely, and I guess after meeting you guys and just feeling so inspired from the friends, I think the inspiration for the song purely came from the friends, and it just came from this burning desire to want to be of some kind of service, to want to feel as though I'm making some sort of contribution, especially with the situation that we're presented with at the moment. And in the song you'll hear, especially at the end, there's many voices from different countries, from Africa, from America, Europe, who all participated and recorded their vocals. So it was
Tash, I'm getting a message from Philadelphia that you should turn up the volume on your preamp if you can.
Yeah, I think that
This
our
is an
viewers
international effort here.
our viewers are hearing you just a little soft. If you can pick it up. So you were. Let me get it right and correct me if I didn't get it right. You left music making for a while, or just did it as more like as a job and less as something from the heart. And this song is the comeback, and it is inspired by your engagement with Kabbalah and with the Kabbalistic environment. Is that correct?
That's exactly it. That's exactly correct.
Wow,
Asaf,
that's why it
Asaf,
feels
in
so.
to producing,
Yeah.
and in addition to producing Facebook shows and stuff, you should go into writing bios for musicians. Because
You like that? That was
Yeah.
good.
Tash, we're pushing the boundaries here of what we've never done before. But can you try to spin over to the keyboard and kind of just walk us through? Because
Oh, wait.
mentioned-
If we're doing one of these things again, we're gonna have to ask our viewers for help here. Yeah, it's gonna happen, Seth. What's the deal?
Well, maybe just I would like to maybe just see how does a song develop? Where does it okay, I have an idea. I want to make a song, and then what? Where does the sound come from? Like maybe you could just sit at the keyboard and kind of pretend like we were there with you, and you're like, "Oh, how about that?" Or hey, what about how does it start to come out? And maybe we can just see.
Okay, I would love
what
this
that looks like.
to see that. I think our viewers would love that too. But if you just show some support, so show some love by just clicking those love buttons. Show us you love what's happening here. If
So you're
if this
asking
is
our
gonna
viewers,
happen.
the people who are watching now on Facebook here, to hit
Exactly.
the heart button. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Exactly. And
Okay.
Gosh, we're banging the heart button for you right now.
All right. Let's see if this. Just let me know if you can hear.
What are we listening for?
Can you hear something?
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
No.
More love, viewers.
Zoom audio. Let's try this. Can you hear that?
Audio settings, and then on microphone.
Maybe he needs to share the sound. If it's
there you go. Hit share screen on Zoom, then
Share.
advanced, then music or computer sound, and then hit share.
Okay. Is that audio settings?
No, just go to share. Thank you, viewers, for your patience. Click share screen in the middle of the Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Advanced.
Then at the top, click advanced, and then music or computer sound, and then on the bottom right, share.
Done.
Yeah, you're sharing sound now.
Now try.
Give it a shot.
Just a second. Is it?
The only show where the producer, the engineer, the copywriter, and the star of the show in front of you. Thank you, Asaf.
Yeah, we have sound.
Success. We did it.
All right.
That deserves more hearts.
Right.
Okay, Tash. So all of a sudden, Tash, you feel this connection. You're with all these people. You're with all these friends. You're hearing the morning lesson. You're hearing the Rob say this virus is not some kind of punishment. This is like a guiding hand. There's a purpose behind what's going on here. Humanity is coming together, and then we're together in the desert. We're you're starting to feel all these friends, and then you say, I want to write something. So then what happens? How does that happen?
Okay. I mean, I can play you the kind of the riff, the way that the riff kind of came, and the melody. It normally starts as a piano piece, so I can give you something like that comes
Yeah,
through.
give us
Okay.
everything.
Okay. See.
Woo.
Wow.
Woo. Wow.
I felt way more than just musical notes there.
Oh yeah.
Wow, that was beautiful.
I think we've created a lot of anticipation for everyone to hear the actual song now.
So maybe just talk a minute about the lyrics, and then we'll wrap the show with the song. So Tosh, we're gonna get a link. Bright from the UK, Bright also from the UK is saying, "Wow, really heartfelt." Annette, so beautiful. Mara from Colombia says, "Oof." Yeah, Corin, John, that's Cherry, bro. Awesome. So, wow, a lot of love, man. So
Gorgeous,
everybody-
soul-reaching, amazing, incredible piece. Love, 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 hearts, 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 butterflies. That's the impressions from this piece.
I guess the lyrics are all about coming together, how to kind of come together as one society, and just share the love, kind of see the love in every moment and in every word. And so I think it's just it really, the inspiration for it comes from that sense of moving forward together.
Thank you, brother. There's going to need to be a soundtrack for this new kind of connection, this new way of life. Songs from the 80s are great and from the 90s and everything, but we need songs that inside of them have the emotion of not like some brokenhearted nostalgia from high school rock or something that was from the past. We need a soundtrack for the new emotions, for the new feelings. And I feel like your song is like right there about how this opens, something that's about what this new connection is. It's still kind of unknown, but I know that we need to be together. I'm just so excited about the song and so happy that we connected.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's been a true gift. Thank you.
All right, I think we're ready.
Let's play
do it.
We'll let everyone. Yeah, for sure. We'll put as soon as we have this link, we'll put it here in the comments for everybody.
So the
Tash,
name of
thank
the
you,
song, Tash, the name of the song is
One Heart.
One Heart. One Heart. So you wanted to do some thank yous, Seth.
I did. I just want to thank you guys. Thank everybody. What did I want to do?
Thank you, all our viewers, for being with us, and you are rewarded with this One Heart piece by Tash and friends. We're signing off. The quarantine will be here once again. When next time will be Sunday at 2 p.m. we will be here, and this is One Heart.
Oh